The United States will probably default on its debt one day. Did I get your attention? Now, there are two ways a sovereign country can default on its debt. There's the way you probably thought of, where the country basically throws in the towel and suspends payment, leaving creditors to collect what they can. The U.S. will not do that. But a country that pays its debts in its own currency, like the U.S. does, has another option. It can print so many dollars that the value of them erodes. The creditors get repaid the right number of dollars. Unfortunately for the creditor, the dollars are worth so little that the country might as well have walked away from its debt. Now, why would the U.S. inflate away its debt? Likely because its leaders will decide they have no choice. You already know about the $1.4 trillion deficit, but the country also has huge obligations not recorded on the balance sheet. Take Social Security and Medicare. The gap between the value of the promises we've made and the money we'll have to pay for them is vast. $46 trillion as of September 30th. For now, there is no plan whatsoever to cover that gap. Now, it won't happen tomorrow, but in the next decades, American politicians will be faced with a choice. Raise taxes and slash government services on the one hand, or inflate the dollar on the other. Any American politician who wants to keep his job will choose default by inflation. It was once unthinkable that the credit quality of U.S. treasuries would ever become a factor investors would have to consider. Not anymore.
With the government's deficit expected to top $1.5 trillion in the current fiscal year and $1 trillion for the next several fiscal years, President Obama has convened a deficit commission that's supposed to give its report later this year. My guest today, Dean Baker, who is the co-director of the Center for Economic and Policy Research, said the commission should be broken up and disbanded before it really gets started. Dean, what is your gripe about this commission? So you wrote, quote, "The country can't afford having more incompetence in positions of responsibility. It's time to shut down the deficit commission and save the taxpayers a few dollars." Is it that Simpson and Bowles are incompetent, or you just don't like their views on things? It gets to the point of, isn't it better to have some commission than no commission at all?
Well, they haven't demonstrated competence in the sense of having a clear recognition of, what our problems are. And in fact, as Mr. Bowles recently addressed the Governor's Conference, National Conference of Governors, and he told them that, according to the latest Congressional Budget Office projections, we're going to be paying $2 trillion a year in interest in 2020. Well, I looked it up. The Congressional Budget Office says that in their pessimistic scenario, we'll be spending $900 billion a year in interest. Right. Now, we might say $900 billion is a lot of money and more than we should pay. We could say that, but we can't say that's $2 trillion. Right. So here's this guy who's heading up the commission, and he gets it off by a factor of 2. Yeah, I question his competence.
What do you say to the argument that whether it's $900 billion or $2 trillion, the interest payments on our debt is already astronomical, and we can't afford more debt to help get us out of a debt crisis?
Well, first off, we don't have a debt crisis, and that's what the markets are telling us as loudly as they can, because people are holding U.S. government bonds at 10-year treasuries at somewhere around 3%. Right. I went to the latest numbers. Incredibly low interest rates. So this idea we have this debt crisis, this is people's imagination. The markets, the people are putting their money on the line, don't think we have a debt crisis. They're fine with that. In the short term, the best thing we could do for the economy and for our children is, build up the economy. We aren't doing our children a favor by putting their parents out of work.